bringing you the stories of sport professionals across the region. My name is Sean Bessette.
And my name is Evan Bates.
And we are the Northwest Center for Sport podcast.
The Northwest Center for Sport, led by Director Sean Dahlin, is committed to advancing knowledge and opportunities for students to allow them to lead the sport industry into the future.
You can follow the Northwest Center for Sport on Twitter by looking up at CW_NWCS, or we're on LinkedIn by just looking up Northwest Center for Sport.
Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great.
This is our first podcast.
Very excited about today.
A little project we've been working on for a couple months now, and it's finally kind of coming to fruition.
Expanding the brand of the Northwest Center for Sport. Student-led, too. I'm very happy that Dr. Dahlin kind of gave his baby to us.
Absolutely, and then gave us the platform to do something like this.
Very excited to get into our interview later this episode.
Absolutely, and shout out 888 the Burg for giving us all this equipment to put something like this together.
Very excited. To start, I'm hoping we can introduce ourselves a little bit just so our viewers at home know who they're listening to.
Absolutely. And you want to talk about yourself for a little bit?
All right. I'll start. So my name is Evan Bates. I am the Marketing and Fundraising Ambassador for the Northwest Center for Sport. Sean and I both started in December. We were brought on just after the third annual summit to help out with marketing, communications, fundraising efforts. I am also the graduate assistant for external affairs in the athletic department here at Central. So I'm doing a lot helping out with promotions, ticket sales, advertising, taking care of sponsors and donors, and just making sure our student athlete experience is very positive. Currently, I'm receiving my master's in sport and athletic administration. I received my bachelor's degree in sport management from Linfield University, and that's where I also played baseball. Let's go Cats. I would say my background, I have a wide range of experiences. Right out of high school, I attended Centralia Community College, where I played baseball there. While playing baseball, I worked at a custom apparel shop, so I was help creating designs, weeding out, pressing designs, and giving them to customers, which was very fun. I was a resident advisor at Linfield, so I was helping kids make that transition from home high school life into first year college life.
Yeah.
I worked for Linfield's football camera crew, so I operated an end zone camera, got all the hero shots of the waist stop, following the ball. That was a lot of fun. Once I turned 21, I worked at Macera Winery down in McMinnville, Oregon, where I worked as a tasting room associate. So I was pouring wine, telling people about the story of Macera Winery and the Momtazi family. I was working weddings and events. A lot of fun, especially in the middle of wine country, when in Rome.
Absolutely, yeah.
I have had the opportunity to work at both men's and women's March Madness tournaments in Portland and just a couple weeks ago in Seattle for the women's tournament. I've been able to work at the U.S. Olympic Trials down in Eugene, the 2020 trials. That was a lot of fun. And this upcoming summer, I am excited to be working with the Port Angeles Lefties in their front office, helping again with some marketing, game day, management-related activities. Every position that I've had has had elements of storytelling, whether it's about wine, whether it's about life, specifically sports. I would say one of my biggest passions is baseball, so in the future I'm very excited to get into a position where I can share that love of baseball with other people, help facilitate, manage that love of the game. So I'm excited to be part of the Northwest Center for Sport, expand my own and everyone else's opportunities here at Central Washington.
Absolutely. My name's Sean Bessette. I serve as a communications ambassador here at the Northwest Center for Sport. Just like Evan, I'm also a graduate assistant and a first-year graduate student here at Central for the athletics department. I serve as the athletic communications graduate assistant. So that means I serve as the primary contact for the volleyball program, track and field program, and the men's rugby program, writing stories, stat keeping, other records and organization, things like that. Last year I served as the athletic communications intern, got my foot in the door. The internships here at Central are a great way to get your foot in the door at the athletic department here. I graduated from Central. I'm an undergrad here in media and journalism. I spent 7 years doing student media, dating back to middle school. Started my 7th grade English teacher recommended me for yearbook in 8th grade. Did yearbook in 8th grade. Did it all 4 years of high school. Quit soccer because of it. I played youth soccer for about 8 years. But I also realized I wasn't good enough at that point.
You were a yearbook kid.
I am a yearbook kid. Yeah, absolutely. And then I knew some people here at Central. It was in state, and it was the right fit for me. Did the Observer, the student-produced newspaper here on campus, was the editor-in-chief there for a couple of quarters. And then, yeah, like I said, I graduated with my undergrad here. I grew up in Auburn, Washington, so just south of Seattle, for those who don't know. While I was in high school, I went to Green River College as part of the Running Start program.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, no kidding. Got my associate's degree, which was a really great opportunity for me to kind of come here practically as a junior and get to where I am now. Personally, I've always loved sports. I've always had a passion for sports. Like I said, I grew up playing soccer. I love football. Love watching football. I like to play basketball on the side, especially during COVID. I picked up and really started playing basketball almost every day because it was just really accessible. Massive Seahawks fan, massive Mariners fan, massive Sounders fan. That's probably say my favorite sports moment ever was going to MLS Cup in 2019, buying a ticket for way too much money to be like 10 rows from the top of, I think it was still CenturyLink Field there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
My favorite fun fact about Sean, hit him with it.
What is it?
You're a season ticket holder for the Sea Dragons.
Yeah. So back in 2020, when the XFL came back, I was like, you know what? Seahawks aren't that affordable. So why don't I get some affordable spring football? Bought season tickets to the Sea Dragons. COVID happened, but then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson decided to pop back up by the league. And so yeah, season wrapped up just a little while ago, and then, or not season wrapped up, playoffs, but our last regular season home game was just this past weekend, and it's an absolute blast. I recommend spring professional football to anyone, but maybe that's just because I'm a big football nerd. In the summer, I really enjoy camping, wakeboarding, tubing, got a boat, love spending time on the lake. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Yeah, ultimately, Sean and I are very excited to be starting this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit about us. We were going to take a moment and explain the Northwest Center for Sport and what it's all about.
Absolutely.
The Northwest Center for Sport is an on-campus organization designed to give students the knowledge and opportunities to work in sport. The center is led by Dr. Sean Dahlin, who has been at Central since 2019. Sean is also the program director of the undergraduate sport management program and teaches classes in the graduate sport and athletic administration program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The center hosts an annual summit headlined by several leaders of the sport industry here on campus. Last November, Central had multiple panels, a networking session, and keynote speaker, who was at the time Seahawks assistant running back coach, and is now offensive assistant here at the football program here in Central. Her name's Amanda Ruller. So yeah.
Hoping we can get Amanda on for a podcast in the future.
Absolutely.
The summit was a lot of fun. Sean and I were both attended the summit. We were able to talk to people from Michigan State, the Yankees, the San Francisco Giants, ESPN,
NHL too.
UW's recreational office. Just a lot of people who are in the sports industry that are either Central alum or have some sort of relationship with Central Washington or Sean Dahlin.
Absolutely.
Also, each year the center takes students on a trip. I had the pleasure of attending this trip just this last February, where a group of us went to Las Vegas and connected with professionals from the Raiders, Aces, Golden Knights, and Pac-12 Network and Pac-12 Conference, F1, and the sports book down there, and the name's slipping. Westgate Sportsbook. On the center social media, you can find links to many opportunities for students to get into the sports industry.
Absolutely.
On our LinkedIn and Twitter, we're always posting about internships, job opportunities that are available to current or graduate
really any
students.
way for students to get their foot in the door of the sports industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Northwest Center for Sport also hosts the annual CWU night with the Seattle Mariners. This year's Mariners night was on April 21st against the St. Louis Cardinals. To go along with the night, it was a nice 5-2 win for the M's. And the center's entire 1,500 ticket allotment was sold out almost a week before the actual game, which was a new standard set by the center. It was more tickets than they've sold in the past.
Mm-hmm. Next year we're shooting for 2,000.
Absolutely.
Something really cool, $5 that for every ticket purchased went directly to the Northwest Center for Sport and the Alumni Association. So a lot of that money is help funding the summit opportunities and student trip and professional development opportunities, which just gives us more opportunities to talk with professionals in the industry, go on trips like Las Vegas, like in years past they've gone to Seattle and stayed overnight in Portland.
Just connecting with sport professionals really all across the region.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, ultimately the goal is to expand the horizon for Central Washington students.
And also just to bridge the gap from isolated Ellensburg to other hubs across the West Coast.
Spokane, Boise,
Yeah.
Seattle, Portland.
Absolutely.
And beyond the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we just get into our first special guest then?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's get right into it. I am very happy, very excited to be introducing our first ever podcast guest. Our guest is the recipient of the 2021 Minor League Baseball Executive of the Year Award. He is a 2001 Central Washington graduate, as well as the keynote speaker of the second annual Northwest Center for Sports Summit. I am very pleased to welcome the president and general manager of the Hillsboro Hops, K.L. Wombacher.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Nice to be on. Nice to meet you all.
Kale, how's Hillsboro right now? What's the weather like? We're getting a little bit of sun here in Ellensburg. Hopefully that's the same for the west side.
There's this bright thing in the air we haven't seen for months now. It's warm. It's great, and we have 12 games in 13 days starting tonight. So
that's exciting.
The weather changed just in time for us to have some good weather finally.
Yeah, I just got an email. You guys have something going on just about every single day of this week.
That's the goal. We hire these promotional people to plan events, so they better put some work into it.
That's right.
Looks like they are. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get right into it. Kale, I'd love for you to talk about your role and connection to the Northwest Center for Sport. What does your position with the advisory board look like, and how did you get involved with the Northwest Center for Sport?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's kind of the evolution of some certificate programs that existed prior at Central. Being an alumni of Central from the 2000s, when I graduated, I was kind of looped back in to the Central pretty quickly by Mark Pritchard. And ever since then, I've tried to stay attached to the college, especially when it comes to how the evolution of the sports business program has gone. Years ago, when I was in Yakima, we would actually have students come down and do projects where they do a promotional night and kind of plan it and execute it. And, we'd help with feedback and help with some of the grades and stuff like that. And those were always just a ton of fun. We actually hired a couple people out of Central through those experiences. And one of the guys, Juan Wheatrone, who we hired, is now in the major league office with Houston Astros. So he's a World Series winner, got his first World Series ring last year, and he'd worked for the Hops for a while, worked for the Yakima Bears for a year. So we've had some good alumni that have come out of that program. But as I've been in sports longer, now it's about looking at what our future industry is going to look like and what the future talent is going to look like. And so having a small opportunity to help shape what that talent development looks like from college, and then talent acquisition as people get out of college and into the workforce, to have just a small piece in how that evolves is pretty awesome. I think the program's come a long way. I think it's in a great spot right now, and I think the talent that the program is now turning out is very hireable for teams, and that's really what we want to see. We want to see that next generation of sports leaders that are coming out of college, and being an alumni of Central, I'd like to see those people coming out of Central.
Absolutely. So that's a great answer. Moving on, I want to learn more about you, KL. I think everybody else would too as well. Starting at your roots, at your youth, what got you into sports? Then just kind of touch on your journey coming to Central, and then from your time to Yakima, and then now in Hillsboro.
Is this a fictional story or a nonfiction story? Because the fictional version might be a lot more exciting. I grew up in Tacoma, played basketball, baseball, football, like most kids, 3-sport athlete. Wasn't great in any of them. Was average in basketball, so I kind of chose that path in high school. Thought I would play in college until I got to the point where I was trying to play in college and went to some spring workouts and realized I wasn't near as good as I thought I was. Tried to walk on at Central playing basketball, and again, I thought I was better than the coaches thought, so that was pretty short-lived. And so, from there, my career path up until that point was to play in the NBA, and 6'1", 2-guard that doesn't play defense. Those dreams quickly became shattered. So for me, it was a matter of, okay, well, if I'm not going to play in the NBA, what do I need to do to make a living? And first thought was coaching. I wanted to stay around sports, and I love the game of basketball. So go into coaching, and kind of experimented with that a little bit. Even coached, I think it was like Thorpe High School, maybe, when I was going to Central.
Gotcha, yeah.
Their JV team. I think there was about 12 kids in the entire school. But and then from there, I got introduced. There was a program called Exercise Science. Oh, it was Sports and Venue Management, or Sports and Facility Management. And that evolved into exercise science. So when I started the major, it was sports and venue management, and then about halfway through, it got changed to exercise science. So I feel like I have a dual major, even though it's one.
Yeah.
I got that sports management, some of those classes. I got the venue management. I got some HR. I got some leadership in sport, and some of those classes. And then I got kinesiology and anatomy, and some of those others, but nutrition. So while I was at school, it started opening my eyes to some opportunities on the business side of sports, which I had no idea that, people could get paid to work in sports. So, and then from there, I got an internship in 2001 with the Yakima Bears. It was a connection that I had from Tacoma that knew the GM in Yakima, and so it was kind of a little crack through the door that allowed me to get an interview, and somehow tricked them into hiring me as an intern, probably because I didn't get paid. So they would have hired anyone to work for free. But then from my internship, I just fell in love with it. Like day one, I just couldn't believe it. Like I'm going to the ballpark for work, and it was looking back, it was tough, but at the time I didn't think it was. The working 16, 18-hour days every day, you get about 5 days off all summer. And again, not getting paid, or getting paid very little. But at the time, I didn't care. I loved it. And the grind of it, I loved. I loved being at the ballpark at 8 a.m. and leaving at 11 or 12 p.m. And coming back the next day and doing the same thing. I just loved it. And so finishing up my internship, they offered me a job. Yakima offered me a job to do ticket sales and corporate sales. And a lot of my friends were moving back home or moving back wherever and having a tough time finding jobs. So I was like, well, I'll just take this job that's offered to me. And then from there, I was pretty hesitant to get into sales. I just had a kind of preconceived notion of what sales was like. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence that I would be good at sales. But the GM at the time, Bob Romero, who's also part of the Northwest Sports Center, he really believed in me, and he gave me the opportunity. But it's one thing to give someone the opportunity; it's another thing to really believe in them and give them the tools to succeed. And that's what happened. He took his arm around me. He taught me everything he knew. Taught me how to sell. Worked with me when I struggled, celebrated when we had some victories, and next thing you know, I was starting to make a career out of working in baseball.
I'm glad you bring up Bob Romero. That's one of the names that we've been throwing out as to someone who we might interview for a podcast in the future. So I was going to ask about your relationship with Bob now, because I think he's with the YMCA in Yakima,
Yep.
Parks and Rec.
Yep. Book out about 3 hours to talk to Bob and get ready to laugh, because he is one of the most witty people I've ever met. And for me, like he was 100% my first mentor. Just an incredible person. The way he treated people was really the base I needed. Whether it was coworkers, it was fans, it was community members. But I'll never forget the way he treated people, the way he treated every single fan individually, and then the way he was involved in the community. Those were lessons that I learned really early on that still I carry with today.
So 10 years ago, when the Hops transitioned from Yakima to Hillsboro, were you brought along without a doubt? Were you fighting for a position? What did that transition look like?
Well, I hope they were going to bring me, because I was the one that was in charge of making it happen. So I don't know how many miles I put on the car driving between Yakima and the Portland Metro, working with this. Especially when I had a 1-year-old at home, which my wife graciously helped support. But I mean, just the years we spent over a year in Vancouver, Washington, trying to get a deal done there, and at the same time we were talking to Beaverton, talking to Hillsboro, talking to some other cities. Basically, any city within the Portland Metro that would take a meeting, we were coming over here to meet with. And then finally, in kind of the fall of 2011, and then the winter of 2012 is when we got the deal to pop with Hillsboro. And so we negotiated that lease in the span of 4 or 5 months. We committed to the lease in June of 2012. That was our last season in Yakima. We moved over here that summer, broke ground in September of 2012, and then opened the ballpark in June of 2013. So it was, once we got things greenlit with the city, it was a sprint to try to get the stadium built and get the team moved here.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What are the?
So I don't think the team had time to fire me. It was just too busy at the time.
Moved too quick, yeah.
What are some of the differences between minor league and major league GMs? When I think of major league GM, obviously, Billy Beane comes to mind in Moneyball, someone who's looking at numbers, looking to trade players, acquire talent. But I know that's drastically different for what minor league GMs end up doing.
Yeah, no, great question. I would say the biggest difference is a minor league GM is basically like the president of a team on the business side. So the Diamondbacks have Derek Hall as their team president. They have Mike Hazen as their general manager. Mike Hazen really oversees the baseball operations side of things. Derek Hall really oversees the business side of things. And so my job as a GM really is to oversee the business side. And there's some crossover on the baseball side, but it's really just affiliate relations. So it's, communicating with the farm director, the player development director on player movement. But we're handed a roster. There's been times where I've literally met the bus at the team hotel as they pull into town, and someone hands me a paper roster as they walk off the bus. That's how we've gotten our roster at times. Fortunately, now we get an email like a day or two before, but so we really don't have any say over coaches. We don't have any say over players. And I think ultimately that's one of the reasons that I love this job so much, and I love working in minor league baseball, is when we plan what's now a 6-month season, used to be 3-month season. When we plan our 66 home games, we have no idea what the team's going to look like because we have no say. So when we're sitting in October, November, December planning our promotions for January or June, July, August, whatever the months are, we're assuming that the team's not good. So we're not going to draw fans based on a hot streak or a 6-game winning streak or something like that. we're going to draw fans because we're looking at that total game day experience and the total fan experience, and whether we win 2-0 or we lose 10-2, it's irrelevant to us being able to draw people out for a great experience. So we're not handicapped by the players and by the wins and losses, which I think at the major league side, your business is a lot of times is totally reliant on wins and losses. I mean, you look at T-Mobile Park and the attendance that they had last year when the team was playing so well versus the attendance a few years ago, drastically different. So to not have that crutch and excuse from a business standpoint and really be able to focus on the total fan experience and running the business almost independently of the team performance.
Yeah, when we were doing our research on you, one of the first things we find online is the MiLB Executive of the Year Award. And so I have to ask you,
I'm glad that was the first thing.
I have to ask you, how does that stack up among career achievements? And, how did you learn of this award? How'd you feel when you did learn of the award?
Yeah, it was, I think everyone uses the word humble when they receive an award, but truly for me, it was just completely humble. The way I learned of it, I was sitting on the couch at home and pulled up in my email at probably 8:00 on a weekday evening or whatever it was, and it was the email from Baseball America letting me know that they had selected me. And at first I thought it was like a prank, so I was kind of looking at the email address, like trying to see, is this a phishing email? Like, why do they want my social security number and routing number? Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I mean, I think the thing that made the biggest impact on me was it was announced right before the baseball winter meetings, and then going to the winter meetings the next week or 2 weeks after, whatever it was, and so many colleagues that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, GMs that I've built relationships with, having all of them come up to me and say congratulations, it was almost like embarrassing. Like, like, how did I get this when this guy can run laps around me when it comes to operating a team? So that part of it was really neat. And just, I think it's a huge reflection on the team that we've built here. This isn't an I organization. This is a we organization. I try to never use the word I. It's about us. It's about the organization. It's about the people that we have that pour their hearts into this and take so much pride working for the team. And we have an amazing group of people here, amazing front office that I'm lucky to call teammates. And so, it's always awkward to get a personal award when the award should be given to the organization as a whole.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much so in that similar vein. Talking about, the goals, the team goals that the Hops have. How do you collaborate with the Diamondbacks, the Hillsboro Community, and other high A teams to achieve the goals, to achieve your team goals?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for us, it starts with player development. We wouldn't be here if we weren't affiliated with Major League Baseball, affiliated with the Diamondbacks, and a place for players to develop into major leaguers. So we always have to keep in mind that's our core business. Does it make us any money? Indirectly, I guess. But if we lose track of our sole purpose, our main purpose is to help the Diamondbacks develop major league talent, then we've lost something big. So for us, that player experience is monumental. We want every player to feel like this is a big league experience for them. It doesn't matter if it's A ball or AAA or whatever it is. When we were rookie ball, short season A, we try to treat guys like they're in the big leagues. So some guys make it, some guys don't. So we always want them to remember Hillsboro as their favorite place in the minor leagues and their favorite experience in the minor leagues. So that's a really key core principle for us. And so we definitely collaborate with the Diamondbacks a lot on that. We used to have a great, robust host family network that was great and very supportive to players, and that made the experience great. And I think when it comes to the rest of the business, I mean, our kind of mission statement, why statement is about first class memories, and it's first class memories for players, for staff, for fans, and for the community. And so using that as our filter and as our guiding principle, we're always thinking about what those first class experiences look like. So we can always kind of tie things back to that. If we've got something off in our culture, in our staffing, or we got a front office member that's not really pulling their weight, we can pull that first class comment into it. Are we really being first class here? Are we putting on a first class experience, or do we have a first class operation? Fan experience, same thing. If there's peanut shells all over the ground before we open gates, that's not first class. If we get signage that's hanging off because a windstorm came through, it's not first class. Restrooms haven't been cleaned in 4 days, not first class. So every time we walk through our concourse, whether it's pregame, postgame, during a road trip, during the games, all of us are always active, kind of watching what the fan experience is like. And if things are off, we need to take care of them right away, because at the end of the day, we come back to that first class standpoint. And then lastly, when it comes to us being out and about in the community, we've always been big believers that you have to reach your hand out before someone reaches out to you. And so we want to go out into the community before we can sit and expect them to come to our games. So I think there's some sports teams that sit back and just assume that people should support them because they're the sports team in town, but they're not really making a genuine effort to be out there first. And so that's always been our mission, is to be out there first and create that community support externally. So then when we do have games, people feel comfortable coming to games and supporting us.
Yeah, speaking of first class, Ron Tonkin a couple of years ago was home to not only the Hillsboro Hops, but also the Vancouver Canadians, really special scenario in the middle of COVID. Did that hurt? Did that help? What was your relationship like with the Canadians front office when you're trying to achieve team goals of reaching out to Hillsboro?
Well, I think the reason that it happened is because we have such a strong relationship with the Canadians. And again, it's part of our mentality of we're always going to try to be the best teammate that we can. So whether that's teammate on the field, teammate off the field, we had an opportunity to be a good teammate with Vancouver and be a good league mate to Vancouver and open up the ballpark, because they were homeless, basically couldn't cross the border. And our relationship with their front office made it a pretty easy decision, but and it was fun. I mean, they did a great job staying out of our way, really running their own operation. It didn't really affect us on the business side at all. I mean, we're still we were just happy to be playing baseball since we lost 2020 season. But it was a grind. I mean, it was like we had a game here every single day from May until September, other than Mondays. So normally when the team goes on the road, your grounds crew has a chance to reset. Your food and beverage team has a chance to reset. They didn't get that. So it was definitely a grind that we hope never has to happen again.
Sure.
For sure, yeah.
Speaking of Ron Tonkin, just a couple weeks ago, the Hops announced a brand new ballpark project. In the article that we were reading, you were quoted saying that it's a generational project. So Sean and I are curious to know, what about this new ballpark is going to be generational, and what are you looking forward to most?
The biggest part of it being generational is I never want to do it again. So it's the next generation that has to build the next one.
There we go.
No, I mean, part of our philosophy ever since we moved here was to build a generational fan base, and it's kind of a general term, but what our hope is that we have kids coming out to our games that are anywhere from 3 years old to 12 years old, whatever. But they grow up as the Hops is their baseball team. They didn't grow up. Adults come to our games, but some grew up a Mariners fan, some grew up a Giants fan, some grew up a Cubs fan. They already have their team allegiances. I mean, if they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. But a lot of these kids in this community have never grown up with a baseball team. So they're now growing up with the Hops, who have 10 years of history here. And hopefully in 30 years or whatever the time, they're bringing their kids to the ballpark. So that's where that generational fan base and generational opportunity comes in. Kids are going to grow up at this ballpark, And then in 30 years, they're going to bring their kids to this ballpark, or in 60 years, they're going to bring their grandkids to this ballpark. I'll be long gone. But so this is it. Like this is a facility that will have decades of staying power. It'll be designed so it's flexible and can be modified in the future to keep up with current trends. But like this is it. This is a significant investment in the future of baseball, but also all types of entertainment that can happen at this venue.
Right. We were reading about,
What was it?
amateur baseball could be playing there.
Concerts,
venues.
Yeah,
Just
all
using
different
it
types
as
of
a
events.
space, just to fill that need for the greater Hillsboro area. I mean, you were talking about, Portland. There is no baseball in Portland. You either go north to Seattle or south to Oakland and San Francisco. So establishing something right there for a lot of people to get excited about, I think, is important.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, no one cares about single A, triple A,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like most people, I think, that come to our games now even think we're triple A, which is fine. We don't really care. But to your point, like we're the baseball team in town. There's a basketball team, there's a couple soccer teams, there's a hockey team, and there's a baseball team. So we're the baseball team in town. We want to act like it. And people that live here, people that travel here, they deserve nice venues. And Tonkin Field's a great venue, don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's a $15 million venue built in 9 months. Like it is what it is. It's very nice. But what this market could offer to people is significantly different than that. And so to be able to design, develop, and build this venue that is a venue that fits the market, that has the right mix of seating, has the right mix of premium, grass berm, beer garden, food and beverage experience, and then to be able to design it to where it can do concerts efficiently, and we can do a dozen concerts or 20 concerts a year. It can host a lot of the community festivals that are on closed down streets currently and have porta potties for bathrooms. Like we have fixed restrooms, we have fixed areas for vendors, to be able to just host some corporate rentals and stuff like that too, where you got Nike that does a lot of team offsites, and the spaces they use aren't very inspiring. It might be a hotel ballroom or something like that. So for them to be able to bring those events to the ballpark that gives it that more athletic vibe and environment for their team building, their team offsites is going to be huge for those companies. Same thing with Intel and some other companies. So then amateur baseball, youth baseball, like to be able to open our batting cages in the winter months and let youth teams use them for free would be tremendous. And we could start to build, this is like the mecca for amateur baseball too, youth baseball and high school baseball. We'd love to see like every high school team getting to play one game here while the team's on the road. Stuff like that, where this just becomes that inspiration to try out baseball and to keep playing baseball, and then become a fan of baseball and pay to come to games.
That's right. I definitely make a strong argument to say Tonkin is one of the best high A, maybe just minor league facilities in the nation. So I'm very excited to see what you guys have planned out next in the couple.
And I think that's a great point, and something that we've talked a lot internally with the new player development system that Major League Baseball has designed that launched in 2021. What level you are isn't near as relevant as it used to be. You used to be a member of a league, and that's the level you were at. And if you wanted to get a different level, you'd have to sell your team or buy another team in that level. Now Major League Baseball can move your level at any time. And so it's not good enough just being the best high A team anymore. Like in a way, you're competing with 119 other teams and markets across the country. So
Right.
do you want to be in the top 5? Do you want to be in the top 60? Do you want to be in the top 100? And so, we're sitting back saying, hey, we want to be in the top 5. We want to be the best. And to be the best, we have to go against AAA markets, AA markets, single A markets. So it's the levels on the business side and with Major League Baseball aren't as relevant as they were just even a few years ago in the old system.
For sure.
Okay, Kale, you spent a lot of time already talking about the importance of having a good relationship with the community. And when I think of Hillsboro and the Hops organization, I think of one of the better organizations that has the community outreach and just relationship in general with the community. So what are other strategies you use to maintain and grow a strong fan base in that community relationship?
Well, a lot of that these days goes to my teammates, Yvonne Hernandez, Hannah August, Jen Anderson, Casey Sawyer, and some others that are a lot more focused on our community outreach and some of the key partnerships we have. Yvonne on our kind of Latino outreach and cultural development, and our Sunny Doors program, which won an award in minor league baseball last year. But just the integration within different pockets of the community to be authentic about what we're doing. We're not just doing it to drive ticket sales. Like we really want people to be Hops fans, whether they come to games or not. That's irrelevant. Or Sunny Doors fans, whether they come to games or not. And so I think when it comes to building a fan base, there's a lot of teams that are just looking at it from, are they selling enough tickets? We're looking at it as, do they like us? Do they talk about us? Are they willing to get their kid a hat, whether it's free or it's paid? Will they come to a free event we do, a free clinic that we do? So there's a lot of different ways, I think, to build a fan base through the community than just trying to sell tickets. I think the other thing we do that's been phenomenal is our support of youth baseball and softball initiatives. And we've donated a lot of money over the years to these programs, but we started a grant program that Hannah and Jen started a few years ago, where teams and leagues all over the metro area, they can submit a grant request for a cash contribution for whatever it is, but it has to be something material, whether it's uniforms or a backstop or a field renovation or a irrigation system, a tractor, a mower, a scoreboard. We don't care. So they submit these. Last year we had 46 submissions, and we granted 46 grants over $100,000. Wow. And that was one of those where it was like, this is awesome. This cool. Is now, someone might have asked for $100,000 and we gave them 10 grand, but ultimately to be able to grant 46 requests and say no to not have to say no to anybody and hit that 100K mark for 1 year was pretty phenomenal. And that put us over the $1 million mark since we moved here in 10 years. So something that we've been really proud of, and ultimately we want more kids to play baseball and softball. We want more kids to play sports in general, we all know why, but getting them to at least try baseball and softball it's a short-term goal for us, but also a long-term goal for us, because they're going to turn into baseball fans. And again, whether they come to games or not is irrelevant, but turning them into baseball fans at a young age is going to be important for the viability of our organization long-term.
Absolutely.
Unlike most other minor league stadiums, your outfield isn't covered with sponsors. A couple of years ago, during my undergrad, we had the opportunity to visit Tonkin with a group of students, and I remember you telling a story about Corbin Carroll doing something crazy. That video got clipped to Facebook, to Instagram, and it got millions of views, and you're able to go back to your sponsors and tell them your logo was seen in this video this amount of times. I'd love for you to talk about your relationship with your sponsors, as well as the strategy you use to attract and retain sponsors for the team, and how important those relationships and partnerships are for the financial health of the Hops.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sponsorships are critical in every sport. It's one of your higher revenue streams and vital. And in the minor league baseball world, sponsorships are vital because it allows you to keep your ticket prices lower. So the more sponsorships you have, it allows you to maintain that affordability. At least that's how we run our business. When it comes to our sponsorship program here, a lot of it really goes back to when I was in Yakima and how we sold advertising there. It wasn't really sponsors at the time. It was more advertising, where we had 56 outfield fence signs. Wow. And we'd sell those one by one, basically. And, to go to that sponsor in October, and say, yeah, you were the fourth sign from the foul pole, second one up. Everyone was seeing your sign, like like one of 56 signs, like really? I mean, so having a lot of those conversations over the years and being honest with myself that probably doesn't work for that business. It allowed us to create a sponsorship program when we moved the team here that kind of caps out the amount of partners you're willing to take on, and then caps out some of the inventory that you're willing to put up. So with less inventory, it's more valuable. So you can charge more for it. But in our opinion, it's way more valuable for the partner. So they're going to pay more, but the ROI on it is going to be a multiple of how much more they pay. So we kind of try to stick to 3 levels of sponsors. We have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, nothing scientific about that. Different price levels for different budgets and different levels of exposure. If someone just wants to get in the door and be a part of the sponsor, they're going to look at that tier 3 package. If someone really wants to make a presence and they're building their brand, or they really want to stick a flag in the ground for the community, then they're going to look at that more tier 1 type partnership. And then we kind of match our inventory with those investment levels. So, if you want to sign in the outfield, you're probably going to be a tier 1 or tier 2. If you want to sign on the scoreboard with some LED exposure, you're probably looking at a tier 1. You want to be involved in our TV broadcasts and have PA and radio every night and program ads every night. You want that 66 game exposure, you're probably going to be more in the tier 1, tier 2 level. So the amount of investment is always going to kind of dictate the level of exposure that someone's going to get naturally. But we try to price things out to where we can still be somewhat approachable. Truthfully, we've made the decision to not be approachable by some, because if we wanted to start sponsorships at $5,000, we could have 100 partners or 150 partners. And again, at that point, it's hard to call them partners. And then someone that's spending 80 grand, like, are they really getting the share of voice that they deserve spending 80 grand when you have 70 other people that are kind of cluttering up that message from them? So it kind of goes along the same lines with category exclusivity. In tier 1, we kind of guarantee category exclusivity. Tier 2, it's kind of a case-by-case scenario. If you're in a category that doesn't have a lot of competition, then maybe we'll negotiate that category exclusivity. But that's a big piece we offer, because we don't want to work with 4 home builders, right, and then go to all 4 of those home builders at the same time and say, yeah, we were pushing all of our fans to you. We were pushing all of our fans to you, all of them to you, all of them to you. We want to be able to look them and say, you're the only home builder that our fans see. These are the amount of eyeballs. These are the amount of impressions on social. Here's the other events that come through this ballpark. And you were the only company that these people were able to see. Now that has some power to it and some direct ROI that it's not diluted by their competition. So we've made the choice to keep our sponsorships partner list around 35-ish, 35 to 40 maybe, where a lot of teams might have 100 plus. I mean, I think in Yakima I had 100 clients myself. So, we probably had 130, 140 clients or something like that.
Yeah, impressions are valuable.
Absolutely. Especially when, like you said, you can go to someone in like a certain section, I guess you could say, with like the home builder example, and say you're the one getting all the eyes from everyone at the ballpark.
It makes that ROI very worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you got McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King and Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A, who's really getting the impact here? And when you start to dilute your fan base, if you we only have 150,000 fans, so we start diluting that fan base. Now that ROI is not going to be there for their investment. They'll go take that same ad money and buy TV or radio or coupons or whatever else.
Absolutely.
Cal, in February, I had the opportunity to travel Las Vegas with about 30 other students. This is my shameless Northwest Center for Sports plug. That was our annual trip. We got to meet with representatives from the Raiders, the Las Vegas Aces, Formula One, Seattle Storm, the Pac-12 Conference, the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
the Golden Knights as well. All of them highlighted the importance of people, much like you have so far. But they also talked about technology and data analytics. How do the Hops leverage technology and data analytics to enhance the fan experience and improve the team's operations?
Well, first off, I'm extremely disappointed that I wasn't able to make that trip, but
it was fun.
It's probably good. It's probably good because there's a chance maybe one of us wouldn't have come back. But no, there's so many great sports organizations down in Vegas now, and maybe more that will be added here shortly with Major League Baseball and the NBA. We've got a good friendship with the Vegas Aviators, the AAA team down there that built a beautiful ballpark in 2019.
Right.
And they do a great job out in Summerlin. I think that the biggest thing for us is the first thing on the data is you've got to capture the data, and I think that's where a lot of minor league teams have started to play catch up. But so you've got to make digital ticketing a priority, to be able to capture the data and get it in your ticketing system, and then from there you've got to have potentially an analytics arm, whether that's a program like Stellarago, who we use, or it's an analytics person. But you've got to kind of start to understand this data and what people are telling you. What games are they coming to? How many games are they coming to? Where are they coming from? What zip code are they buying from? Where do they live? Because a lot of that will start to inform your marketing. It'll inform how you develop your ticket plans, might inform your pricing. If you have a fan that it definitely informs your marketing strategy, because you have a fan that only comes to Tuesday games, and for the last 5 years they've come to 3 Tuesday games. Why are you sending them an email for your weekend series that's coming up? They've already told you that they have no interest in weekend games. So very, very simple things like that if you don't capture the data and be able to understand what your fan behaviors are, then you're not going to be able to tailor a program to them. Now, we're never going to get to the point, we don't have the money or the resources to be able to individualize marketing plans. But we can take that scenario and we can generalize it a little bit more. We can take all of our mini plan offerings, and maybe we have a weekend plan, we have a fireworks plan, we have a midweek plan, we have a Sunday plan, and we can not only take what we sell with each of those plans, but then we can go down to another level of who actually came and who actually used those tickets, and then maybe layer over weather for those games and understand maybe some impacts that weather may have had with some of the no-show rates. Right. Because people don't buy enough. Our tickets don't cost enough for people to make a decision whether to renew based on the cost. A lot of it is based on, did they use them? Is it worth their time to come out? So season tickets are hard to sell for 66 games because it's not the money, it's the time commitment. Like, it's overwhelming thinking about coming to the ballpark 66 times. But if it's 8 times and it's once or twice a month, now all of a sudden that's kind of manageable. So if we've got that data on people and we've got the numbers of when they're coming, how often they're coming over a certain period of years, then we can kind of target them with some messaging that's going to make the most sense and resonate the most with them. And then I think from the technology side within the ballpark, the biggest is just Wi-Fi. You've got to have a robust public Wi-Fi system that's free for fans. Right. That's just become a core part of the experience. Our biggest thing now, I think, is on the food and beverage side. That's where the biggest opportunity for me is developing a really smart mobile ordering strategy, or there's a lot of different ways you can do this with the walkout technology now with kind of markets. I know Allegiant Stadium probably did one, but Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle has one. A lot of stadiums are doing this now, especially when it comes to beverages. There's a lot of casinos in Vegas that have them too, based on your trip down there. But just using technology to enhance the food and beverage experience, I think, is going to be the biggest opportunity. Things like your suites or your group areas. instead of having a server that's going around checking on all those areas, you have a simple QR code on the table that pulls up the menu and you order whatever you want, and then you have a runner bring it to you. So, you're getting down to the line on your beer and you start looking around for that server and it takes them 10 minutes to show up and you're thirsty. You kind of put that opportunity within the fans' hands, and it's going to make their experience so much better because they're not thinking about how long it took them for a server to come around and check on them. They control it. And so you can do it the same thing from whether that's group areas or it's a single game fan that's sitting in the seats and they've got a QR code on the front of their seats. They can order the food, pay for the food, and then they get a text alert when it's ready. You have a mobile pickup spot. They walk over, grab it, come back to their seat. So it's kind of that frictionless experience where you put the power in the fans' hands, literally, and take them out of lines. Your kitchen can handle it a lot more. And people won't complain about wait times near as much. If they're sitting in their seat watching the game and their food shows up the next inning, no big deal. If they're standing in line waiting for it the entire time and missing the game, now their experience is damaged.
I'm assuming the technology and the fan experience, what you're talking about now, is influencing the development of this new ballpark in some ways.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
I wasn't expecting.
It affects your point of sale ratio. Where you used to have you'd want 1 point of sale for every 125, 150 people. But if we're taking people out of lines, now we don't need to spread the lines out that much. So, we're trying to figure out. It's so new right now that there's no formula for it anymore.
Right, yeah.
So we're having to make some decisions. But the key is the decisions we make. We want to build in some flexibility. So if we're wrong, we can kind of pivot and improvise a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting food and beverage to be the answer to that question, but you make a lot of good points when it comes to some of the self-service items and QR codes. And yeah, I think it's really smart.
One of my favorite places to go to is Maui Brewing for many reasons. One, it's in Maui, but that was the first place I saw this, I think, where they just had QR codes at tables and you order whatever you want, you pay for it, and then you get a text alert when it's ready. And you walk up to the counter, you grab your whatever, your pizza, your beers, whatever it is, and you walk back to your picnic table. Like, it was so frictionless and so easy. And it was like, wow, this is it. Like, especially for a sports stadium, like, this is perfect.
All right, well, switching gears a little bit here. Over the past 3 years, we've seen females occupy positions with the Giants, the Marlins, the Yankees, and now the Diamondbacks organization with Ronnie Gajownik. And so I wanted to ask you, what is the importance of female leadership in baseball, but also sports in general?
Oh, man. I love this question. And I also love that you pronounced Ronnie's name correctly. Well done. That's very good.
I tried my best. Thank you.
Ronnie is awesome. I mean, she is, the way she's handled this opportunity and her understanding of kind of the groundwork she's laying and the example that she's setting, I think has just been phenomenal. I mean, the media exposure she's gotten has been overwhelming at times, but she handles it with just such grace and confidence. I've really been amazed. I think the biggest thing is, especially with leadership, is you need different perspectives. And different perspectives are going to allow an organization to grow. It's going to allow an industry to grow, a sport to grow, whatever it is. So if you're only getting a male perspective, you're missing out on so much. We all know that, for the most part, males and females could think differently or think about situations differently. And so to have a more comprehensive thought process and view on things and a more comprehensive kind of just strategy around what you're doing, it's going to be so much more powerful long term. And I have a 12 going on 16-year-old daughter. I mean, for her to now see a female or multiple females working in what used to be male-dominated sports, to me, is the coolest thing in the world. It takes the barrier away from, I can't do that. It takes that out of the conversation. And, I've heard Ronnie talk about this many times by now, but someone asked her, "Is this a dream job for you?" And her response is so brilliant. It's, "I didn't know this was possible, so it couldn't be a dream for me." And that was, the first time she said that, it really hit me like, wow. I mean, 2 years ago, she was our video coordinator in 2021. There were no female managers at that time. She had never seen someone that's like her do something like that. So to her at that moment, that wasn't possible. So for her to be in this position now a lot of other people with ponytails playing softball or basketball or whatever else, they see her and they see that ponytail on the field coaching third base, and they're like, wow, that could be a dream job for me now, because now it is possible. So to me, I think it's so personal when it comes down to, we all dream about what we could grow up to be. We all dream about what we want to be, whether it's now, later, whatever. But there has to be a visualization there for us to even think about it. And for now, those visualizations are now there. And every sport has them now. So I think it's just the greatest thing that's happened to sports. It's long overdue, but it's changing quickly. And now I really hope that venues and facilities and operations can catch up quickly to make a good experience for people coming into this industry. And an example is our venues were all built with males, with a dominant male culture. And so, not having separate dressing space, not having separate restrooms, not having, female supplies on hand, just stuff like that it was never, we never thought about it because it was all male dominated. So now we're having to improvise and expand our facilities to be a lot more equitable and create those good experiences for females coming into the industry.
Absolutely. What does your day-to-day relationship with Ronnie look like? How do you interact with the manager? Yeah.
Yeah, we text a lot if we need something quick, but I try to check in with her every day while she's in town, while they're on the road, maybe once or twice, just to see if she needs anything. She's pretty independent. Like, she's got this thing wired by now. So she really doesn't need my help on anything. Yeah. But early on, I tried to be closer to her, just to be a filter for her with the media and understand, what's worth her time, and kind of talk to her about what's worth her time and what's not worth her time. She was getting so many media requests. One thing that she told me, which I thought was really cool, is if it's ever a female journalist or blogger or whatever else, she's going to make time for them, because she knows that they've kind of broke into a male dominant industry as well on the sports journalism side of things. And obviously there's a lot of females now, but not too long ago, it was hard to find a female sports reporter. So, she knows that they're kind of up against it. So she's always going to make time for them, which I thought was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, especially since, obviously, like you said earlier, you don't have any coordination over the on-field efforts. It's glad to see that, you still have a relationship with her to some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good, because we're on an 8-game losing streak. So I don't have to take any credit for this 8-game losing streak.
Dust Devils are in town. You should be able to turn that around, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. We took 2 out of 3 from them earlier in the season. So.
Okay, so Sean and I are both graduate assistants in the athletic department here at Central, and something that our communications team decided to do out of pure enjoyment for the love of baseball was each individually follow a team from the High A West. So randomly, I'm following the Emeralds. Sean is following the Aqua Sox.
Ooh.
So this question is coming from Blake Patterson, who is our assistant director of athletic communications. He's asking, if our communication staff pulls up to a game in Hillsboro, what is the best game day meal or food options in your opinion?
Oof. My first thing goes to our burger. We've got a good smash burger that our chefs developed last year. Good burger sauce with it. It's all about the burger sauce and the bun. We've got some really good hot dogs. You can't go wrong with a hot dog, and you want to have a good quality hot dog at a ballpark, and we definitely have that. And then I would be split between our wood-fired pizza. We do a fresh wood-fired pizza on a wood-fired oven, and then our barbecue, because we smoke all our meats in-house, so we make all our sauces in-house. So, I mean, boy, those are some tough choices. Good luck.
Oh, no kidding, man. All right, well, man,
I'm excited to tell Blake about that, and we should probably make a road trip down to Hillsboro one of these days.
The barbecue sounds great. All right, well, the final question we have for you, KL, is as a leader in the sports industry, what advice do you have to aspiring sports business students who are looking to pursue a career in minor league baseball or just the broader sports industry?
I have a lot of advice, but I'll try to really boil it down. I think the biggest thing is be open to any opportunity. I never thought I would get into baseball. I always thought I'd be in basketball because it was my favorite sport. I also never thought I'd get into sales because I thought that was like a dirty word, having to do sales. But, I've done sales now for 22 years in baseball. So I think when you go into it, be open to any opportunity that's out there. Look at the organization and what the values of the organization is, and make sure it's a good fit for you individually. And then when you do get that opportunity, you've got to take advantage of it. You've got to go the extra mile. Don't do the minimum effort. Don't do the minimum standard. Don't worry about what you're getting paid and whether that's fair or not. Look at it from a long-term standpoint. And there's always going to be more money to be made. There's always going to be promotions in life if you work hard. So don't get caught up on that stuff, especially early in your career. Get in with an organization that has aligned values that you have, and work your tail off, and good things will happen. You keep your head down, work your tail off, have a good attitude, be a good teammate to those around you, do everything you're asked to do without complaining, and then go above and beyond. And those are the types of people that are going to have really great, successful careers in sports. It's that attitude, it's being a good teammate, and it's going above and beyond, and not worrying about those other things that you can't control, like what you get paid or what your title is, your promotion or stuff like that. That stuff will come if you do a good job.
Absolutely.
Kale, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
It was great hearing from you.
Absolutely. Great to be on the podcast. Can't wait to see the better guests that you have in the future that will blow this one away. But appreciate you guys having me on, and go Wildcats.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Make sure to follow the Hillsboro Hops on Instagram and Twitter. A lot of fun content always flowing through there. I've been following for the past couple of years, so I'm excited to see what's next. So make sure to do that, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for you.
All right, guys. Take care.
Yeah, you too, Kale. Thank you.
All right. That was our interview with Kale Wombacher. Once again, thank you, Kale, for coming on, being our very first ever podcast guest, kind of setting precedent for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My mouth is watering from him talking about that in-house smoked barbecue.
Wood-fired pizza, too.
I could go sit in the sun and watch a baseball game all day right about now.
He gave us the smash burger. He gave us the hot dogs. He gave us the wood-fired pizza, and he gave us the barbecue. He expected us to eat all 4 of these meals in 9 innings.
Love to share.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. One of the things I was really liked from Kale's answers, especially in the beginning of the interview, was how often he mentioned the importance of community outreach and the relationship with the community. And like we mentioned, when we think of Hillsboro and the Hops organization, we think a lot about how strong of a fan base they have. And so I was impressed by how often he mentioned just the importance of the community aspect of a ball club.
Yeah, he takes care of people. That was my biggest impression, whether it was Ronnie, whether it was his sponsors. I've heard that story before, why he doesn't have 155 advertisements on the outfield.
The whole tier 1, tier 2, and the way he breaks it down. Yeah.
He takes care of the people that are investing into his team, whether that's sponsors, whether that's the other individuals that are helping put on the Hops organization, the team guys. I know something that Hillsboro tries to do is get guys PR trained, especially this is the first or second level for a lot of minor league guys. They might be 2 years out of college. They might have just gotten picked up from the Dominican Republic. This is their first exposure to the States.
Yeah.
So they're taking care of the guys, trying to give them, what do you say, that first class.
Everything was first class.
Everything was first class, and he's also trying to make sure guys walk away with a professional experience.
Yep.
So ultimately, Kale likes taking care of people, and that's how he's been able to make, obviously, one of the most successful minor league organizations grow in 10 years. You know,
Absolutely.
congrats to the Hops 10-year anniversary this year.
No kidding, right?
That's what they're celebrating.
And then it's talked about the $1 million from the grant program, the 46.
It's a lot.
46 submissions, 46 exceptions.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That is really cool. They're able to make other dreams happen from themselves. I think that, and going back to the whole sponsors part of it too, I think one of the favorite things he mentioned was the home builder example. I thought that was really smart. There's no point in having 150 or however many sponsors when they're all from the same section. They all have the same consumers.
Right.
And so him being able to make sure that these sponsors getting their return on investment that they're giving to the Hops is special.
I'm just thinking about what our nation's current economy looks like right now, and how easy is it for organizations, businesses to pull out of sponsorships because they aren't doing so well. If they just feel like everybody else, if they don't feel special,
they're not getting ROI. Yeah, absolutely.
So just what the Hops are deciding to do is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention his relationship with Ronnie. Obviously, that one really, really special for the Hops to have the first high A manager in Major League Baseball history, but also having someone who's been around for a couple years and know what the Hops are about and how they want to establish their presence is really cool.
His answer, his answer of Ronnie's answer, about her reaction to getting this job and if it was ever a dream job was pretty special.
Yeah, what was the quote? It was, I didn't know it was possible, so
how can it be my dream?
How can it be my dream? Yeah. That's cool.
Pretty unique, absolutely. All right, well.
Yeah, once again, thank you, Kale Wombacher. We'll make sure to drop his LinkedIn and information below.
Absolutely. All right, well.
I think that's about it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the first episode of the Northwest Center for Sport podcast. My name is Evan Bates.
I'm Sean Bessette.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.